Hello, everybody, and welcome to this. And this is, well, we're going to have to come up with some other roundtable than the X roundtable. It's usually the X roundtable, but it'll be
Okay.
something. It'll be something else for this. So yes, I am Karl as always, and I'm joined by Andrew.
Hello.
And welcoming here another person who I know from life, as opposed to just the internet, Hannah.
Hello?
Yes, another person from university, just like Ben, except I think we've lost Ben completely. Every time I ask him to do the X-Men one now, he's always got other things going on, because I think he works during the week and I work weekends. It's kind of just at opposites at the moment. But yes, so what we're going to do on this is, last time, me and Andrew with you, we just basically spoke about X-Men Days of Future Past, and we did all the, what could happen, what couldn't happen, what we're expecting for the movie, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we called the future, or at least the future as it was a couple of weeks later, as me and him were talking on the show, we said, they could do this as a setup for Age of Apocalypse for the next movie, and what happened 2 weeks later? We
It's
got
the
the announcement.
Apocalypse movie. They
Yup.
didn't do Age of Apocalypse, which is
I mean, I
disappointing.
definitely, yeah, when I heard that, I definitely think Karl is going to lose it when he sees this.
They did it. So yeah, we might talk about that as we get down the line. We basically got a list of all the movies that are going to come out. Basically, either generally comic book and superhero movies, but we have also got the geeky movies and the sci-fi movies, and generally ones that people of our ilk are interested in that are coming out over the next year. A lot of reboots and remakes and sequels, obviously, because that's how this genre is these days. So yeah, we'll get into them in order from 2014, and then we'll cover the ones that have already been announced for 2015 and beyond. So Andrew's got a list. So what's the first one?
This isn't like by date, but just for 2014, it's RoboCop, and I don't know who. I'll look up who's directing it, but it's basically just a big remake. It's got actually a pretty okay cast. It's got
Yeah, it's got a very
Gary
Samuel L.
Oldman.
Jackson, Gary Oldman.
Michael Keaton.
Mhm.
Yeah, Michael Keaton surprised me the most on that list because he hasn't really done too much recently at all.
Yeah, Gary
But yeah,
Oldman, Samuel L. Jackson. It's a big cast. I am one of those people who grew up on the originals, and I shouldn't say that because it really shouldn't have watched it as a kid. But no, I did, and I love RoboCop as a, especially as I came into a preteen and watched the original movie and stuff. And as I've got older, that original movie is so good. A lot of what that movie's about is it's sarcastic, sort of taking the Mickey. It's a comedy. It's a dark comedy in a lot of ways. But it also works the whole drama of sort of the same way The Crow works, where it's him coming back and taking vengeance for his death, and him struggling with his humanity and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of Frankenstein meets The Crow. It
Hmm.
works in a lot of ways, and it's a great movie. The sequels, not so much. The next one was
Was
too
it? I
dark.
have a question. Were the sequels? Was like one of the sequels written by Frank Miller, or was it the first
Both
one?
of the sequels were originally written by Frank Miller.
I thought he wrote
Um,
the third one. I didn't know he wrote the second one.
no, he's actually in the second one.
Oh yeah, he
There's a
What?
was.
guy there's a guy in a trailer who gives was it Kane? He gives him his drug, and it's actually Frank Miller. Um, who's the guy who
Oh,
blows himself
Frankie.
up in the truck? That's Frank. Yeah, he wrote the original scripts, and he professes that what happened since was Hollywood bastardizing them. Well, we've seen what his work has been since the 1990s, and I'm not sure whether that's so true.
Yeah,
Um,
I very much dislike definitely Frank Miller's recent work. So I don't know. I mean, he keeps every time I see Frank Miller's recent work, he keeps using the term ironic. Like, oh, I'm doing this ironically. But nowadays he's completely given up on that. When he did Holy Terror, like he's
Yeah,
admitted it's propaganda. He's admitted that it's going to
yeah.
offend
and he
anyone.
wanted to
Like,
originally do that with.
he's not doing this ironically anymore, and I don't think he ever was.
No, I
He
think
in the
the idea was originally to do it with Batman, wasn't it? And then DC were like, no, with that one. But
Oh yeah, they were all. It was Batman, Catwoman, and Commissioner Gordon,
so
and
it's
it's very obvious
basically
who they were. Like
yeah. So
very
that
obvious who they
so
were.
it's basically the same as what Alan Moore did with Watchmen, where it was supposed to be the DC characters and it ended up being. But of course, Watchmen's a lot better.
Yes,
Yeah.
very very much better.
Have you
But
guys seen his recent cover for the Detective Comics book?
no.
It's like everyone was so pumped about him like making like a brand new cover for like the annual Batman number 27 issue, and he's making a big cover for it. And they declined it, and they brought it back. And when they brought it back, it's just like a stripper Catwoman with a tail coming out of her butthole, and
What?
I know it's weird, but it's the weirdest thing because it's so crudely done. And it's really off-putting.
I just have a feeling that Frank Miller never recovered from Sin City. He never quite got over it after that. He was never the same, and he everything he's done since has either tried to beat Sin City, or I think things like Dark Knight Returns, but Strikes Again or whatever the sequel was, and then especially
Dark Knight Strikes Again,
and then especially Batman and Robin, the series he did with Jim Lee. I have a feeling those were trying to be like RoboCops, getting it back to the topic. In that he was trying to be, sarcastic and ironic, and as he said, but yeah, who knows how good Frank Miller's original film would have been. I mean, the original script for RoboCop 2 I think is out there as a comic book. It's out there as a graphic novel, so you can see it if you want to see a comparison. But anyway, yeah, the sequels were not so good. The second one was far too sadistic and lost all the charm of the original, and the third one was just a kids' movie.
Can I just ask? I haven't checked this. Does anyone know what the rating is going to be for the remake?
PG-13.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
Damn it.
I thought it might be, because the trailer definitely doesn't convey something that would be an R.
No, they're going for PG-13 because that's what every studio goes for these days for the sci-fi blockbusters, to try and get to the most, kids and
I think
adults.
most remakes nowadays, other than like some big horror film like that centers on. Now, I could probably be completely wrong about this, but like most of the remakes nowadays are usually PG-13.
Oh, that's
hardly R.
I mean,
except for if it's a horror film, it's going to be R. But for the other kind of remakes, it's usually PG-13.
In the 80s, R ratings could make money, but in this day and age, I think there's this thing that you can't make money unless it's PG-13.
Well, they also tend to do a thing which is they bring it to cinemas as a PG-13, and then they release the uncut version on DVD.
Like Wolverine.
So you end up basically buying both.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like Wolverine.
That sometimes happens. I think the last Die Hard movie, I think they did that.
Did they? Oh.
Yeah, so basically it's like, we want to make as much money as we can in the cinema, but if you want to see the full version where Wolverine's claws actually cause blood, well, you can buy the DVD for that.
I should point out there was a surprising subversion with Prometheus, actually, because Ridley Scott said he was going to film two versions of the film, one that was a PG-13, one that was an R, and going to ask the studio to do it. So I thought, we were going to see the PG-13 one in cinema, and then we'll see the R rating in DVD. But actually, they went for the R rating one. And I can't really see it being a PG-13. I mean, a lot of the best scenes, like you can't do that infamous...
With PG-13.
Yeah, like the most famous scenes in Prometheus are definitely the R-rated scenes. So I think the studio were actually right on one occasion.
Yeah.
Well, the movie itself is another thing, but
yeah,
the
bit that the best scenes in it.
Well, yeah, if you think about what you remember from Prometheus, it's her cutting her own stomach open and all that. Yeah, weirdness.
PG-13 kids, it's a perfect scene for the kids.
Yeah, but yeah, to get back to RoboCop, I'm a big fan of RoboCop, and when I heard they're doing a remake, it's like, okay, the original movie is so stooped in the 80s. I thought doing kind of a sort of, I don't know, a Dark Knight Returns with RoboCop could have worked, like had him where he's like been powered down and then he wakes up in sort of a modern day version of the future where he's kind of unneeded anymore, and it's very sort of left wing and people don't know how to respond to this sort of guy with that he is. I think that could have worked, but no, they went for a whole new one. Now, I mean, people they've already done Total Recall, which is another Paul Verhoeven movie, and that wasn't very successful.
No.
And I'm not a fan of reboots and remakes, stuff like that anyway, but I will go and see it, and the trailers have given me some hope. It is not going to be as good a movie as the original. The original movie is a great movie. This is going to be good at best. But let's just hope it can be a good modern retelling of the story. And we'll get into the details in a second. But Andrew, what about you? Your general thoughts of it?
I have not seen the first RoboCop movie in its entirety, nor have I really watched the sequels that much. I don't know why I haven't watched it.
Watch the original; it's really good.
But I have seen the two things I remember from the first RoboCop film is that, well, three things. One, hey, it's RoboCop. There's a statue of him now in, where was it? Detroit? Yeah, there's a statue of him in Detroit, which is amazing. I don't think that would ever happen anywhere else. Like a statue of Captain America in Washington D.C. would be amazing.
Oh, the way it's
But
going, don't yeah.
but the other two parts is that I'll ignore the other one. But the scene where the guy gets hit by the car and he's all like radioactive and stuff. That scared me as a kid, and it kind of put like a memory in my head. So that's why I'll always remember RoboCop. But that's
Yeah.
kind of
That's an Ed 209 scene where he blows the guy away in the boardroom. It's like, and the crucifixion scene of Murphy. You know those scenes. If you saw this movie as a kid because you thought it looked cool because of the robot police officer, you were scarred. But it remembers. It's a good movie because of that.
I'm pretty sure.
Go on.
But for this new film, every time I see a new trailer for it or a commercial, I get more interested in it. When I first saw it, I was like, okay. I see more of it. I'm not like, hey, it's gonna be the best movie ever, but it's looking better than most other remakes.
Yeah, it looks like it at least is going to tip its hat to the original, and I'm interested to see what a new version of it will look like, because again, that first version is so 80s. It's such an 80s movie. But anyway, Hannah, what about you?
Yeah, everything I see about it makes me think it's going to be, at the very least, okay. I don't think it's going to be brilliant. I think it's going to be a good film to watch. I watched the first RoboCop movie a long time ago, and I'm trying to think of what I remembered the most, and definitely the death scene. I mean, definitely the scene, and I remember seeing in the trailer, he just gets blown up with the car, and I thought that really doesn't work. I thought it really should have been... Yeah. I know they couldn't really show in a PG-13, but it actually might have been...
You could have had somebody get... Like, the whole point of the original movie is he gets shot a billion times, and then people are like, clear! We're trying to resuscitate him. Like, he got shot a billion times, and it's not coming back. But you, in a PG-13, you could have him shot twice. You know, you don't even have to show the blood splats, just show him getting shot.
Which actually might be better in the idea that you don't really see what happens to him properly. Like, it might be good if you're doing a PG-13, like, you can't really see the state he's in, but you can see people's reactions to it.
Yeah,
like, you never really see him. You see, like, you can hear it. You can hear how much pain he's in by screaming, or you
don't necessarily need to see him butchered, but I would have liked to have seen him get shot, because I think it takes away all the personal, and I think that's definitely what they're doing to change it from the original. There's no Clarence Boddicker in this. It seems like it's kind of him versus the corporation as opposed to him wanting revenge on people, it seems. That's the story in this new one.
Is there anything... I'm not too keen on the black outfit, black armor at all.
I think, but they show different versions of his outfit, so I think they realized the outcry for it, or they had an original plan for the costume. Because at the end of the trailer, you see him in his classic outfit.
Well, yeah, when he gets made, he looks like he's in like a updated version of the classic costume.
It's silver, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm like, wow, that looks really good. And then he gets into like the bizarre version with the two visors, and they're like, and apparently I've seen like panels and stuff. The idea is that he's getting like messed with. Like, they'd have like public opinion polls, people saying, well, he should have this and have this and have this, and they keep making different versions of him to try and make him this corporate product, to make him a different model, to make him visually appealing to people, because he's supposed to be this thing for the people. But and the black version is what they end up with. I'd like to see them be in the silver by the end, though, but I don't know.
God, that'd be so cool. But that's just me. Other than that, for RoboCop, that's all I really have to say about it. I think this looks like a fun film to watch. Maybe.
Yeah, it's got a good cast, and it looks like the people who are making it give a damn. And again, I'm interested to see it because they're going in a sort of different direction to the original. I don't like some of the changes they've done, such as him not getting killed by, people, so he's got people to have revenge against. It takes away that whole human element of the original, where he's like, he scans all the faces and sees his murderers. Is like, when the guy shoots him and he's like, who are you? And he can't remember. And they've got that's another thing they've taken completely out of it, is he doesn't get his memory wiped in this one. He doesn't die.
No, not really, does he? I mean, from what I could tell from the trailer, he almost seems just like it's him normally.
In a
Like,
suit, yeah.
yeah.
They've actually
Whereas-
confirmed that he doesn't actually die from the car explosion. He just gets injured, and so they don't wipe his memory at all. Whereas in the original, it's the movie's whole overarching theme is him regaining his humanity. And even though he's not Murphy by the end, he sees himself as Murphy, and that's the whole thing where he turns back to them and, what's your name, son? Murphy. It's the whole arc of the movie. Whereas in this, they're going for a completely different one, which is, I don't like that they're changing it, but at the same time, I've seen that original movie. We've always got that original movie, and the new version. At least they're going on it from a different angle. At least they're not trying to tell the same story. I think they're trying to tell the story of whether the man is owned by the corporation or not. I think that's what they're going for in this one. Is he's fighting the AI and he's fighting the corporation. That's what they're going for.
Which is actually pretty good. Which is what remakes should be doing. Just tell a story in a different way and to make it interesting. Which is I can amend this remake for doing, other than past remakes where they just did the same thing.
Yeah, Total Recall was the same movie almost, but
Yeah.
I didn't even need to see the movie.
Obviously,
And I could tell
the
it was the same
Psycho
thing.
movie is probably the most infamous one, where it was almost shot for shot, and like
Isn't
really
Vince Vaughn
no
the
point
villain?
in remaking it at all.
yeah.
Isn't Vince Vaughn the villain in that one?
Yeah, he's just so not Norman Bates. Like, oh yeah, this is Norman Bates. No, you're not. You are not. You're
You
Vince.
can laugh at the reveal of that, even by saying Vince Vaughn's supposed to be a serial killer. Like, you can't take it seriously.
No.
I can't, at least.
Well, there was a time before he was a comedy actor. I mean, he was in Jurassic Park, wasn't he? And then,
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't really playing. He was kind of. I guess he wasn't really. He was supposed to be playing a badass, but he never really does anything badass in the entire film.
He's found his niche in romantic comedies.
Yeah.
Anyway, next movie.
Next film is 300: Rise of an Empire. I'm gonna look up who's directing, but I do know it's Zack Snyder is writing the screenplay for it.
But he's not directing because he's
not
busy
directing
right now.
He's basically DC's new movie guy, along with David Boyer.
I've not heard much about this. I just hear it's going to be a prequel.
They can't really make a
I
sequel,
thought it was a
can they?
sequel.
I mean, it's not really.
They're all dead, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, it's not a sequel? I thought it was.
No, it's not even Leonidas, is it? It's
No, it's not.
No. Because I thought it was gonna be like they get a whole army ready to attack. Who's the main guy? Who's the bad guy in this one? Xerxes. They get a whole army to attack Xerxes, and this is what the film was supposed to be.
Okay. Is this
Never mind.
based off a graphic novel this time, or is this just all original?
I think the whole thing was Frank Miller was supposed to write the sequel to it, but knowing Frank Miller and how he can't get stuff done on time, he's gonna come out after the movie. So, I don't know. This is what they're gonna try to do.
Oh, I've just checked it out. The film is going to take place before, during, and after the event of the first film, so it's going to span over across. So it's not really a prequel or a sequel.
Oh, it's just kind of something else that's happening elsewhere in Greece at the time.
It's apparently just going to be both what's happening before, what's happening during, what's happening after. So that's why you can't really get prequel or sequel from it.
That's interesting.
It's a spin-off then.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
I like that. I'm not too interested in this movie. I was never the biggest fan of 300 when it first came out. I really enjoyed watching it, but I wasn't like, we need to see the sequel to this, because you can get an idea as to what would have happened.
Yeah, and the main thing everybody took away from it was the meme, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's what everybody.
It's Sparta.
That's what everybody takes the mick out of and continues to use to this day.
Either that or the bizarrely homoerotic system of it all.
Yeah,
that was the other big part, because you see like these spoof movies and these not spin-off movies, but all these films that were making fun of it. Like, I think
people
it was
almost remember the joke better than the original film.
Yeah.
Like it was Meet the Spartans, I think, one of those terrible parody movies.
Oh god.
They made fun of that completely. But yeah, that was one of the things that people got off from this movie.
It's pretty much on the level of Top Gun, I'd say, probably even more than Top Gun.
Well, that's what Greece was like, wasn't it? They were all obsessed with body.
Yeah.
To a large degree.
Anyway, I haven't got anything else to say on this one because I am not the biggest 300 fan. So if anybody else has, go ahead.
I actually really dislike 300, which is why I was quite worried when you guys pointed out the sequel, because I really hated 300. I thought it's definitely one of those films where Frank Miller's use of irony is very much something main thing when I think of Frank Miller's use of irony, I think of what he did with 300, because its Spartans are actually awful people. And they're saying, oh, it is in universe, it's an unreliable narrator. But I'm saying, well, then I'm just watching awful people doing it, even if it's supposed to be awful people in universe, if you know what I mean?
I get you.
So
I guess it's.
I definitely don't like it for the sake.
You don't like it because
ironic.
you haven't got anybody to root for you.
Yeah.
I can also see, like, I guess not a ton of people knew about the backstory of the Spartans. So I guess when people started watching it and they watched the films, like, oh man, the Spartans are total badasses. And then history teachers would look at that and they'd be like, well, kids like Spartans. They want to know about Spartans. Let's teach about how cool the Spartans were. So I guess I never really thought about, perspective-wise, how not knowing the backstory of the Spartans would change the view of the film. Because when you watch the film for the first time and then look at the history, you view it differently. But knowing the history, then watching the film, you get a different perspective, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it has very little to do with the actual historical events. I know it's not supposed to be, but it really, seeing something from the point of view of the Spartans and how the Spartans think, was really uncomfortable for me. And I know that it's ironic, like I said, it's an unreliable narrator who's trying to glorify the whole thing, but it's still horrible people. That's how it comes down to it for me.
But if it's historically accurate, can't blame them. Better than them. Guy? Yeah, it's better than them making the guy more heroic than he really was. Anyway, next.
Next we have Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And this is the next big one, of course.
I should point out, are we going to? I know this is a weird thing, but are we going to reveal who the Winter Soldier is? I'm pretty sure we all know.
God,
I think everybody already knows who's a comic book fan, of course.
If anybody doesn't know who the Winter Soldier is, spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Because I got yelled at one point for revealing it, so I wanted to make sure everyone knew we were going to reveal it.
I think even people who aren't comic book fans, after seeing the first film, kind of had an idea, once the second film was released, that, like, hey, remember that one scene where Bucky Barnes had an awful death scene where he fell off a train? And, that scene was awful. Like, it's the music isn't even that, emotional. He just falls, and Captain America's like, oh. Okay. And then there's a scene afterwards where he drinks and is like, all right, I'm back in the game, let's go.
Because then he doesn't really hold up on it, whereas, it's ridiculous, the original, where he's, strapped to a missile or whatever, but, and I know it's like a kid and all that stuff, but if you took it had a lot more dramatic, Captain America brooded over it a little bit more, let's just say.
I really do. I love Captain America, the movie. I think it was a great movie, but I will admit that the death scene of Bucky Barnes was kind of sort of just shoved in there. Clearly,
it's obvious that they needed Bucky to be in it because they wanted to do the Winter Soldier, but they couldn't have Bucky as in the actual Bucky Barnes in the thing, so they literally just had the character in there just so he could become the Winter Soldier later on. It's a little bit like how they're talking about how they're going to have Nightwing in the new movies. Like they don't want to do Robin, but they want to do Nightwing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, the trailers for this look really good. It seems like it's going to be like Avengers 1.5 more than any of the others, because it's got more of the characters coming back from the Avengers than any of the other movies, because it's very Shield centric, as well as introducing some new characters to the universe that I guess will end up being Avengers, like Falcon and things. So I think the trailers for this look really good. I'm looking forward to it. I think the Winter Soldier's a cool story arc. I think he looks good. Is it the same actor who played Bucky?
Yeah. That's the other thing. They basically put, Sebastian Stan in the credits, and I wonder what the guy who died before is suddenly in the I wonder who the Winter Soldier is.
Well, when I went to see
I have no idea who he could be.
When I went to see the Desolation of Smog, they had the 5 minutes thing that you guys in America got before Thor, and the end of that literally has him catching the Captain America shield with his mask off. So at this point, there's no mystery anymore unless you weren't paying attention during the first movie. It's a good storyline. It looks like they're adapting it well, and I'm very interested in this one. It looks like it's going to be good.
I'm going to get my thoughts on the first Captain America down and then talk about this. I think the first Captain America film, the first half is awesome because there's
Mm-hmm.
actual story parts to it, and like I love the first half, like his costume in the first half, and he just gets a jacket. He's got his old Captain America suit on underneath or something, and he's got the helmet, and it looks great. I think if they had that costume for the whole first film, it would have been awesome.
Well, speaking of which, it looks like they've updated from the Avengers in this one as well, because everybody moaned about how the Avengers one looked a bit silly, so they seem
Yeah,
to have gone back a bit more towards armor in this. But
Well,
anyway,
yeah,
carry
this
on.
one looks
he's got
great too.
several in the trailer. He's definitely wearing, like, at one point he's wearing the army type one, but I think in another one he's wearing the traditional one. I'm pretty sure he's wearing more than
Yeah,
one design of the outfit.
he's wearing the first Captain America outfit, and then he's also wearing the Brubaker costume, where it's just a big star in his chest, which I think, by the way, looks really cool. It's effective. Um, but yeah, the costume thing, I think it's going to be kind of like him. I think the star costume is going to be him representing Shield, and then he's going to wear the Captain America outfit to represent like the people.
Mm.
Maybe. I think I know who the villain is. Because
It's in the
Robert Redford.
title,
No, it's in the title, but they said that Red Skull's going to come back in this one, and
but
in
it's
every
not
other.
going to be Weaving, is it?
I think it is going to be him. I think he might do a voice thing because he said he was forced to stay on as the character as the Red Skull for like another couple more movies.
Well, because he said he didn't want to come back for it.
Yeah, but they said he had to stay on along with
right.
Natalie Portman.
So
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I'll do the voice, but I'm not getting in the makeup.
We don't know what's going to happen in the film, but that's probably what he's going to do. He did review Vendetta, so he might do it for this.
Yeah, I think if Red Skull's going to show up, obviously either at very, very end or even post credits.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Robert Redford's character is what I think might turn out to be the big bad. He's
because I think he's gonna be the bad guy. Because in the comics, for almost every other modern take on the Red Skull, he's always like in a political position where he's always got like a suit on, and he's like changed his appearance.
So do you think that the Red Skull is like running Shield or something, and that's why Captain
No.
America turns on them?
I think
the
the Red Skull is in the comic of the Winter Soldier. Spoilers. Red Skull gets shot in the first issue, and he had the Cosmic Cube with him. And then, at the last second before he got shot, he switched his mind with another political guy, and he was the Red Skull in that guy's body the entire time. And in other comics that I've read, where Captain America becomes like the he has like a black and red and white costume, and he basically Red Skull like clones Steve Rogers, and he takes his appearance and he becomes like a big political guy, but he just calls himself something different. So I think maybe the Red Skull is in the position of Robert Redford, who's in control of a big corporation or industry, and he.
So you don't think it's going to be the president or anything?
No. Well, that'd be an awesome reveal, but no. I just think the Red Skull is going to be taking control over the mind of Robert Redford, maybe, and he's like in cahoots with Shield secretly, but Shield does not know he's the Red Skull.
Okay.
So that could be an awesome reveal if they do that. But that's my thoughts on the film. I think the direction of the first one was good, but it also looked kind of stiff and weird because you could obviously see where the strings were at, where they pulled people out when they punched them.
Yeah.
Shield. It looked kind of awkward. This one, it looks much more serious, but it also has a comic book feel to it because he's diving out of the plane without a parachute. And he's just going with the shield. And it's Captain America, stuff like that, where I think they know where they're going to take it, but it's going to have a serious look to it, and the action looks way better, in my opinion. That's just me. That's my thoughts on what
I loved the 40s look of the original.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The whole World War II stuff and that. But yeah, like I say, I mean, interesting to see them do essentially what is an Avengers sequel as much as a Captain America movie, more than any of the others have been. And it'll be interesting to see how well this one does financially. It seems like they're pulling out all these stops because Captain America, it did well, but I don't think it did as well as some of the other characters.
Not as well as Iron Man, I guess.
No, God, no.
Iron Man 3 is probably the most successful out of all of them. Well, the Avengers is the most successful, but like on like not the Avengers level, but for like a singular hero, Iron Man 3 is the highest.
Yeah.
But Thor 1 didn't do well, but then Thor 2 came out, and that did really well. So I don't know. We have yet to see how. I think it's going to do well.
Do you think it's just going to have like a snowball effect, like all the Marvel movies are just going to get it? But we'll get to Guardians of the Galaxy later. Hannah, what about you? Captain America.
Captain America, I'm really looking forward to it. I love the Winter Soldier plot. Very interesting to see what has actually, in this version, happened to Bucky. Obviously, because the obvious idea of connection to the Cold War, which is interesting because in this version, Captain America has completely missed out the Cold War. He had no idea about it, which is why I think the political intrigue of him being the idealist, because again, he wasn't there for the paranoia of the Cold War. He doesn't really understand it, which is what I think of his difference between the Shield. He grew up in idealistic. He doesn't see the Russians as villains, as the rivals or anything, and he never did.
because in World War II they were allies, weren't they?
Yeah, so that's probably, I think, the sort of the rivalry between Captain America's idealism and what might have happened to Bucky, if it's connected to the Cold War, if it's still connected to that. I'm sure it's going to be something S.H.I.E.L.D. has done very bad, but they did it in the sake of paranoia, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Shield have always, in the movie one, have always been, apart from that whole subplot in Avengers where it was like, the higher ups of Shield are the bad guys, but Nick Fury is the good guy, and he tells them to go screw themselves. But Shield in the comics has always been more of a villain than they have been in the movies. The movies, they've kind of been the people who get the Avengers together,
which is unfortunate because I don't think I've told many people this, but I think Nick Fury is one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. And most of the stuff that I read with him in S.H.I.E.L.D., where it is like espionage and they're betraying each other, I think S.H.I.E.L.D. in other series, they get the shit, especially with Brian Michael Bendis, they get the shit kicked out of them like all the time. And they're the bad guys like every time. I think S.H.I.E.L.D. gets mishandled a lot.
And it seems like they're going to fulfill that more in this movie than they ever have.
Yeah, so I think with Captain America versus S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of thing, we're like, I don't agree with your ideas at all anymore. What's happening? That's going to be interesting to see.
I mean, we're obviously seeing in the trailers that Nick Fury's being taken out by probably the Winter Soldier or something. So maybe Maria
I'm pretty
Hill.
sure, like, again, the car, we see his car sort of, he does that thing where he gets a sort of bomb or grenade and puts it under the car goes flying. We're pretty certain that that's going to be Nick Fury, although they have, because there's a bit when we see the Winter Soldier walking towards a truck, and it doesn't seem to be the same truck, I don't think. This one had a bunch of bullet holes in it. I can't remember, but I do remember that the
trailers are terrible for misleading, but we do see him in the hospital bed. I have a feeling that maybe like Maria Hill or whoever ends up taking over S.H.I.E.L.D. are going to be the ones who, make things so that Captain America has to rebel and, change his policy or something.
Yeah.
Other than that, the only other thing of positivity that I can relay on this film is that Ed Brubaker has said he's checked out the script and he said he loves it. But
that's good. He's the guy who wrote the original Winter Soldier thing, isn't he? Yeah.
But this is kind of, like Robert De Niro, not Robert De Niro. Oh my God, not Robert De Niro. Robert Downey Jr. once said Iron Man 3 is one of the best scripts he's worked on, and the reception for that was kind of iffy. So maybe this will be great, maybe it won't be, but I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know about that actors, but I mean, my only thing I'm thinking is that how powerful are the Captain America Winter Soldier scenes are going to be. I mean, we got a couple of good scenes between them in the original movie, but there's no sense of that companionship that obviously would have been there from the kind of sidekick thing going on. For them being together for years and years, there's none of that history to fall back on. So you almost are going to have to do flashbacks in this movie if you're going to have any sort of emotional, resonance as to why we should care that these two brothers have fell apart.
I think also how Captain America will react to what's happened to Bucky, because obviously Bucky, he's been brainwashed. He's almost, I'm pretty sure he's going to turn out to be, the victim of the big bad just as much as anyone else, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm hoping that it's about that Captain America's main issue when he finds out who the Winter Soldier is to try and get Bucky back. I don't think he's going to sort of swear vengeance or swear you used to be my friend. He's going to try and save him and see him as just as much as a victim as Nick Fury or anyone else. So.
Which is kind of how it goes, and then Bucky ends up, coming to the light side. And
that's another. This is a minor point, but I may as well ask: is because there's been some questions about whether, because obviously Black Widow's here, if they're going to go with her as the love interest of Winter Soldier, or if she's going to stay or possibly be Hawkeye's love interest, or
Well, they could go either way because that's
Yeah.
how that's how it's been in the comics. Is she's one of those two. So yeah, I mean, I could see either. What about what about Vulture? What are we thinking of Falcon? Sorry.
Vulture. What? If
Yeah,
the Vulture's in this movie as an old man, that'd be so good.
No, I think maybe we'll see a clip of him in Spider-Man, but not in.
Robert Redford is the Vulture. Confirmed.
yeah.
Falcon. Interesting character to put in a Captain America movie.
He's always been Captain America's old buddy, like his old team-up partner. So I think it fits. I think it's good. I don't know. That's just me.
Okay.
I don't know how much he's going to be doing. I mean, that has been a bit of a concern because he's a side character and all the other stuff going on. Captain American, Black Widow, Shield, Nick Fury, Winter Soldier. I don't know how much he can do just time-wise.
He's gonna be I think he's gonna be the roadie. I think he's gonna be in it.
Yeah.
Just to be somebody you can team up with for the big fight at the end.
I think Captain America films have always been better about treating its side characters better. Thor is victim to focusing more so on the main characters than on the side characters.
Well, I don't know about that. I think they focus on the villain or the
No, I mean like other side characters.
Yeah.
Like the Warriors 3 or the others Guardians.
Yeah.
We don't hardly spend more time with them than we do with the other characters, which is fine. But this one, I think they're going to treat it slightly better. But yeah, I do agree with you on your point about him being like the roadie of the film. Other than that, I think it's looking good. I don't know.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's going to be the best of the Phase 2 films, which have been disappointing so far.
You
They've been okay. They just haven't been great like Phase 1 was.
I liked Thor 2, but I thought it was rushed and the villain story was terrible.
Yeah, Thor 2. I have a problem saying the name. It has probably the worst, most boring villain, which is a shame because that's Christopher Eccleston and he can play really good villains.
Yeah, they just cut all his scenes and replace them with Loki scenes. And
I love Loki, but even I would admit there's too much of him.
Yeah, the character stuff in Thor 2 is great, but the plot not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same thing I'd say for Iron Man, to be fair, since the original. But,
yeah. Iron Man's villains haven't always been great, but that's about it.
I don't think there really is because I've never been a big fan of the meandering. Sorry,
meandering. Meandering.
The meandering.
Well, there's rumors there's rumors they're going to do something for Netflix where the real Mandarin comes in and takes revenge and stuff. I think they just were concerned from all reports. They were concerned because apparently there's a big audience in China now. It's a big, source of revenue, and they didn't want to piss off the Chinese by having this racist stereotype of Chinese people being the bad guy, I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I guess. It has always been a bit of a dodgy, politically correct dodginess of the character, so I could definitely understand why they changed it to a Caucasian man in the end. Particularly, I actually kind of like the fact that Ben Kingsley's character, he just sort of mixes everything up. Like, people don't really know where he's from because his accent is very different from the clothes he's wearing to the sort of phrases. I kind of like that it's sort of something a really dumb actor might do, creating a character and just picking...
Yeah, it was fine for the movie. It just, if you see the Mandarin as Iron Man's Joker, that's when the problems come in. But I would love to see like a Ken Watanabe as like the Mandarin. But was it?
Yeah, that would good. That would definitely work.
Anyway,
so
the next film that we have is Godzilla.
I hope it's good. It looks like they get even down to the logo on the poster, it seems like they're going for, this isn't the 98 movie, this is going back to the Japanese version. It seems like that everything they're doing is, from the look of the Godzilla to the font on the poster, seems to be like, this is the Japanese version, Japanese.
They might as well have put the tagline, there is no Matthew Broderick in this. Might as well be the tagline.
That seems like what they're doing. The trailer was underwhelming. I think it was just because it was just kind of showing little glimpses of it, and
well, it's a teaser trailer.
Yeah, just fair enough.
Like, I never expected to see Godzilla at all in the teaser trailer. I assumed we were just going to see the after effects, and we do get a bit of a glance at him.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that he generally, one, looks a lot closer to the Japanese version than obviously the American version, which
is
is really
perfect.
yeah, the American version was basically just a really big T-Rex. And two, the scream is fantastic. The roar, sorry, is fantastic. I love the roar.
It's one of the best roars in movie history, in my opinion. But yeah, not to interrupt what you were saying.
Yeah.
I think the best Godzilla films or stories involve you focusing on the human person for a little bit, and then it's their perspective on just Godzilla just doing things. It's like, what can we do to stop them? Maybe it'll be like a Cloverfield thing where the monster's attacking, but they're trying to save the one person.
You think the movie's going to be better off if he's just kind of like a force of nature?
Yeah, I think that would be perfect for it, at least for me, because it just seems like
better than having raptor babies anyway.
Yeah,
that'd be perfect. That'd be the best. No raptor babies, please.
This isn't trying to rip off Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Well, I think the best thing about it. It's clearly that was the thing about the 1998 version. It's trying to be Jurassic Park, not Godzilla, and this one's trying to be Godzilla. And I think they definitely said that there is going to be another monster in it that Godzilla's going to have to fight.
Yes, please. Godzilla fighting another monster is exactly what we need.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've said that he is going to be fighting at least one other monster in it.
Okay.
That's all I need, yeah.
Yeah.
I think one more thing, this is also my take on like what the Godzilla story should kind of be like, or what it could be similar to. There's a comic book storyline where it's focusing on this one soldier who like just gets into the army and Godzilla's attacking, and it's basically you following his life from like day one to like towards the end of his life, where he's on a mission to stop Godzilla. So like over the years he starts on like on a tank, it doesn't do anything. He gets the chance to like operate like Mechagodzilla, and it fails. And he keeps getting other chances, but he keeps messing up. So it's like it's his ultimate failure, and he can't like beat him at all. If it's something like that, that'd be great.
Maybe that's whose Kick-Ass's character is going to be.
That'd be awesome.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think.
Yeah, he's gone places now. He's Quicksilver. He's this. I don't know what he's doing.
Hilariously, the woman who's going to play Wanda is in this as well, Elizabeth Olsen, and she's playing his wife.
Oh no!
Immediately reminded me of the Ultimate.
You're gonna confuse people now. They're gonna be like, "What? Godzilla's in the Avengers?"
What? First Hellboy, now Godzilla. What kind of a cast is this gonna be like? Jeez, that'd be so cool if Godzilla showed up to attack Ultron. But yeah, I think this film's cast is great. I don't know what David Goyer's gonna do. He's surprised me before, but if they make good decisions with this film, it should be a pretty awesome Godzilla film. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
But that's just me for now.
Just make Cloverleaf with Godzilla, unless
Cloverleaf.
Cloverfield.
Whatever.
Cloverleaf is the sequel.
Yeah. That's a giant leaf he's attacking. Yeah.
Just guys, how do we stop this leaf? We can't do that.
And then you find out it's controlled by Poison Ivy and it's a Batman movie. But no, anyway.
Perfect. Batman versus Superman versus Poison Ivy. Oh, all right. But I think this is gonna be a good film.
Yeah.
The next one is another big one, which is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
Well, we've had the big trailer, haven't we? Where not only is it revealing that you thought Electro was the big villain. Nope. Well, that was what the publicity was, and he seems like he's going to be a henchman.
Yeah.
And all I will say is, as soon as we realise that the first Goblin or the Green Goblin is going to be Harry instead of Norman, that's a different way to go about it.
Yeah.
But the fact that we've already seen Gwen in the movie and everybody knows that she's going and Mary Jane is coming in the next movie and she was wearing the clothes that she was wearing when she was on the bridge, and then you find out the Green Goblin's the main villain. Good for you, love. So yeah, but there's a lot of that. There's Electro, there's Rhino. We finally got a look of him. It all looks cool. I hope.
don't really know what he's going to do in it. There just doesn't seem.
He's gonna rob a bank, and Spider-Man's probably just gonna stop him. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's like he's gonna see
I'd
Spider-Man
be
in
fine with
action.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he only
Rhino's
really.
never really been a big villain. He's always
No,
been the
he's
guy
not.
that Spider-Man stopped easily.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
just to finish my thoughts, I think for me, this movie, I hope it's not too busy, but it looks really good. I love the costume. It's the best, even better, closer than the Raimi movies to getting with the big white wide eyes is very close to the comic book look, especially compared to the original one, but it looks practical at the same time. And you know, I hope it's good, and they're obviously teasing the Sinister Six.
Yeah, they show that the Falcon. Sorry, no, the Volt. Sorry, the Darkhawk was. They showed.
Yeah, they showed his tentacles and the vulture's wings, and
yeah,
they're definitely building up to that. I mean, again, they're messing with it with having Harry be the first Goblin and stuff, but I hope it's not too busy. I hope it's not all noise. But I liked the first one, other than the end game and the villain stuff. I liked the overall tone of Amazing Spider-Man, and I hope this one delivers on all fronts and looks good. Yeah, I no doubts about this one.
When I first saw the trailer and publicity, I was worried they were going to make the same mistake that Spider-Man 3 was, and there was just too many villains, and you didn't really know who to focus on. Which I thought was a bit ridiculous, since the whole point of this reboot was to stop the mistakes they were making with Spider-Man 3. But
at the same time, I don't think you can make a movie that focuses around Rhino or Electro.
No.
I think Spider-Man, and even Batman in some cases, not as much, obviously, but I think there's some characters that are villains that are good just to be there as a villain rather than the villain.
Yeah.
And I think the idea is going to be throughout the movie, he's battling these other ones, but the big boss, the arc is his friend becomes his greatest villain at the end. And that's the main bad guy by the end.
Yeah, because it does look like Rhino is not doing much in this, I don't think. I mean, like I said, in the trailer, we only really see one scene with him in the suit, with the robot machine thing.
Which he looks far more like a rhino than... Yeah, he's got the four-legged thing going on and everything, yeah.
I think, what you're saying about the Rhino, where he's just that one villain that's just there for a little bit, then it goes away. Because he says he's going to be the next film, or this Sinister Six movie, where they're announcing like crazy. I think, he's going to be there really quickly and go. I think Electro is the second big bad guy. You can already know how he's going to be defeated by the end of the trailer. Like, he's just forcing Electro to destroy all these generators, and that might cause, an after
which
effect
again seems very like a boss battle in a video game.
Yeah,
and that's the thing I've heard about this movie is that people are saying it looks like a video game.
Which is why I'm very iffy. I think it looks amazing. Wait, Amazing Spider-Man. I think the film looks really good. But I think a lot of the parts are gonna be really predictable. I do think the casting for Norman Osborn is really good. I don't know.
Oh, that is fantastic. He was in Chronicles, wasn't he? He was the main guy in Chronicles.
I think he's a really phenomenal actor, and I think the eye look of him and just his voice, it really does fit Harry Osborn more than the last guy, Franco.
James Franco. I always thought he was a bit miscast in a weird way. He just didn't scream Harry Osborn to me. At all.
And I do love the look of this Green Goblin or Hobgoblin or wherever he's going to be, where it's his face mutated much more than the Power Ranger armor suit that the original one had.
Yeah,
Power Rangers.
You can't get away with the Halloween mask of the comics,
no.
But I think the mutated face definitely looks the best you're going to make it look.
Yeah, because I remember with the original, when William Dafoe spoke, you can just about see his mouth moving in front of the sort of
it looked ridiculous,
mask, and it looked a bit weird.
I do think the original mask, I know everybody bashes the original mask they were going to use before they went with the armor look. I think the original mask actually could have been done pretty well.
That looks better than the one in the movie, yeah.
Yeah, because you can't tell at all that it's, Willem Dafoe at all. you can't see his original face because it just looks like a goblin's face.
Again,
And
the best part of William Dafoe's performance in that movie is the expressions he pulls. You know.
yeah.
Like they had to open the eyes. Remember, they had to open the eyes so you could see his eyes.
Yeah, because that's his whole performance, and his best
Yeah.
bits are where he's like pulling that. Like he'd make a really good Joker, I think. You know,
He almost.
make an awesome
I think he almost wasn't he, for the Tim Burton's one? I think
Really?
he was.
Really?
I think he
I
generally
would've-
auditioned for the Joker before Jack Nicholson got it. I heard that.
Mm. I
That
think he
would've
would have
been
been good.
so
He
good.
definitely would have looked more like the traditional.
Yeah.
I think the problem. Well, this isn't about Amazing Spider-Man 2 right now, but I think the first Spider-Man, like first 3 films for Spider-Man, weren't great on casting wise. I think it was a middle point for the casting. They got some casting down perfectly, like J. Jonah Jameson and the Green Goblin are like some of the best casting of all time. But like for Spider-Man, Harry Osborn, and Mary Jane, and even for the other characters, it's not great. But like for the villains, they get it like perfectly.
Yeah, and I
Except
think
for-
that this.
Except for
Yeah.
Venom.
I
Venom's
always said this after I saw Amazing Spider-Man the original is the Raimi movies are great, and especially the first 2 I enjoy a lot of. But I always found their tone very light-hearted, and even though I made maybe plot elements or villains in the first 2 movies better than I liked the lizard stuff in Amazing Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 1, sorry. I liked the tone of the actors a lot more. I like this Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy a hell of a lot more. I think their romance and their chemistry as a couple works a hell of a lot more than.
But they're actually a couple. The actors doing it are actually a couple. So
that's probably why then.
Yeah.
I think for this film, if they don't make stupid decisions like they did in the first reboot or remake, the first film they made some stupid decisions. Like there's the basketball scene, which I think ruins the whole like his whole secret identity thing because he just jumps up and breaks the backboard.
Yeah, it's like
walks out.
how would anybody not know? Yeah.
And nobody's like, well, I guess he's normal. He's just pissed. But he's like, he broke the fucking backboard. What is that?
There's a lot of things they need to avoid. But it seems like they're hanging their hat on this one. It's like everybody wants to get into the world building game now. Like Marvel has kicked comic books into up the ass, so now DC have finally started their movie, although it seems like they're trying to put everything in one movie as well. Get to
we'll talk about. I'm assuming we're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
Man of Steel sequel of the Superman versus Batman,
Justice League, whatever the hell it's going to DCU, whatever the hell it is at this point. They're putting everything in one movie, but at least they're getting into it. And now Fox are saying we're going to do an X-Men universe with Fantastic Four, and now Spider-Man have announced all these movies. Sony have announced all these movies for Spider-Man to where Spider-Man is its own universe. I think obviously DC and Marvel can maintain. X-Men can maintain its own universe, its own characters. I don't know.
Spider-Man can't do that at all.
I don't think Spider-Man can have I don't know how many people are going to go and see a Sinister Six movie that doesn't have Spider-Man in it.
And a Venom film, because Venom worked so well the last time.
Yeah, exactly. Movie. I mean, Venom, his whole point is he's got to be in the movie with Spider-Man, surely.
Unless they pull a Flash Thompson move where they make him the Venom and stuff like that, but I doubt it.
But no, they've got to do him as the villain first, surely, the whole symbiote thing. And I just don't think there's enough characters and stuff to build a universe around Spider-Man. Not in the same way as the 3.
Just for the conversation about the Sam Raimi thing we're doing a few minutes ago, I just want to put my note in. I do really like the Sam Raimi movies, but there are definitely big flaws. My biggest problem is the fact that Kirsten Dunst is A, miscast, B, basically playing Gwen Stacy. Like if you watch those movies, that is not Mary Jane. They gave her red hair, and she says tiger once in a while, but it's not. She doesn't have any of Mary Jane's personality. It really does feel like Gwen Stacy. And also the fact, obviously, when they did the scene in the bridge, and Green Goblin says, "You must choose between your girlfriend and these civilians," and the fact that Spider-Man is able to save both, kind of undermines the complete scene. You must choose. Oh, you saved them both, so it doesn't matter.
Oh shit, that didn't work out at all the way I hoped. Oh shit.
So Kirsten Dunst really should have been playing
Gwen Stacy,
and have Mary Jane later on.
And I do think when they actually, whether it's going to be the actress who has been cut from this film now or somebody else, hopefully when Mary Jane walks on, she is that contrast to her, where she is that confident, foxy tiger Mary Jane, as opposed to the meek, screaming woman, which is more
Yeah.
of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, because I definitely want to see a scene. All this reboot will be worth it if I hear a scene where I can hear Mary Jane say the word tiger without it feeling forced.
Yeah,
Like,
she needs to turn
when
up at
she
his
just says it,
door.
but it really doesn't. Like, why are you calling him tiger?
Yeah, she
no
needs
sense
to
at all.
turn up at his door and do the whole, well done, tiger, you've just hit the jackpot scene.
Yeah,
Like you need
basic
that
tiger.
you need that confidence from
Mm.
her that I don't think Kirsten had. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they can. I don't know. The whole that seems really hard not to make forced unless you have an actress who can pull it off naturally and the scene makes sense.
Mm.
Because they've done it before and it's just like that doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to redo that completely. But yeah, I think this whole film is just them making the right decisions. And with these side villain films, I don't think they're making the best decisions. But talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2, it looks like a fun movie just from the trailer alone.
Mm.
But I don't know what decisions they're gonna make because the Amazing Spider-Man one, the whole villain plot, I think the Lizard's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, and if done right, he can be done really well. But
Problem with that
they
movie
botched
was
it.
that they took away the whole conflict. The
Yeah.
whole point of that character is supposed to be, Miss Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where he turns into a different person and then he turns back into the human and regrets, but he's like, oh my god, what have I done? Whereas in that movie, it's like the human persona was compromised as well and was turned evil, which is completely not the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do basically do that. I mean, it's almost kind of like the dark side of the Hulk story, in a weird way. The Lizard is kind of like that, and it didn't really come off like that at all.
Yeah.
No, and then somehow he does end up becoming good at the end again, even though he was being evil when he was human. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's my feelings on the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys.
I hope it's good. I want it to be good. I liked the first one. I like the cast, and I just let's hope there's more thought going into it than just here. Spider-Man fights all of his enemies, and he gets to the end, and he fights his friend, and then that's that. And next movie.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all depends on if they make smart decisions. That's it.
Gotta have Mark Webb directing. He's born to direct it with that name.
Yeah.
Guys, who should we hire?
Thought that was a joke when I first heard that because I hadn't heard of Mark Webb before, and I'm saying Mark Webb. Okay, yeah, who's the real director? No, he's actually called Mark Webb.
Yeah,
he's done good stuff before that, 500 Days of Summer, but I think the first film was well directed. I think it was
I think his strength it was with the character stuff and the romance and the drama. The other problem with that movie was they were doing everything they could to not do what the original movie did. So that scene, it personifying that scene where they're standing around and that Uncle Ben is supposed to say with great power comes great responsibility, but he's saying every other word around that. With great power comes great respect. And it's like, just say it for God's sakes, just because Raimi said it.
Yeah,
like the reasons why Spider-Man 3 was bad was not because of that line. It's kind of
it's just the fact that freaking Sandman and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the next movie, I think we've already covered this before, X-Men: Days of Future Past. I think, Hannah, do you want to get your thoughts on this? Because we've already really discussed this in great detail.
There's two big bits of news that have come out, but we'll get to that afterwards. Yeah, Hannah, why don't you?
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. A lot of my previous concerns have, I've realised, because I was obviously very worried about Hugh Jackman being back as Wolverine. Because it's kind of like, with X-Men First Class, him just having a cameo, it's kind of like seeing an alcoholic come back from rehab and swearing they're okay with one drink. You're just thinking they might go on a binge, It's just kind of, I don't want to be about Wolverine. But from what I could tell, Wolverine is going to be the audience surrogate. He's not going to be really the main character. He's just going to be the person who asks the questions.
Yeah, and it makes the most sense with the whole way that the time travel in Days of Future Past works. It's the one that makes the only sense.
Yeah, and also apparently the focus is actually going to be on young Charles Xavier, which I think is great because it really looks like a good character up from him because he clearly is in his lowest point when he time travels, and it's great to see how he became what has happened to him to make him at this lowest point, and how he's become the Charles Xavier we all know and love. And I also love the fact that, like I said, it's almost going to be a prequel to the Apocalypse movie. Whether it's going to explain all of the inconsistencies with the continuity or not, or make it worse. It's either going to explain.
Well,
them
I think as soon as you enter into time travel, they have an excuse to say, well, Gambit's now on the team in the modern day because time travel.
Yeah.
I think that would work pretty well, actually. Maybe. Not as like a joke thing. It's like, we need him back. This actor has gone through some terrible times. We need him back.
Let him come back and do the role and do it well. Just say Mona Me, you'll be all right.
Mona Me, it's like perfect. He's on. It's perfect. Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the film's looking good. But you said you had 2 bits of news.
Well,
the two about the Anna Paquin.
Yeah, there's two big things. Obviously, Apocalypse been announced. That's again, I think we're probably going to get a post-credit scene where it starts to that. I mean, again, once you turn into time messing and that leads into an Apocalypse film, everybody's sort of going, oh, that maybe that's the way to bring Cyclops back, is to do a Age of Apocalypse type story where maybe that's how you bring some of the dead characters back, and they're with they're working with Apocalypse and that. So yeah, that looks good, and maybe it means we're going to get Sinister as well.
Yeah. Other than that, I think
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because before the Apocalypse announcement, my theory was that the next movie after this was going to be about Mr. Sinister. I talked to you about it. I thought that he was just going to show up and be Nathaniel Essex, and that he was going to be the big bad, and maybe they would do Apocalypse after that. But now they're doing Apocalypse now, so I don't know.
Yeah, and also the other thing is that I think Nathaniel Essex and Sinister is a very similar characters to the way that Shaw was played in First Class.
It was a bit. Yeah, it was, wasn't he? I mean,
that was essentially that character more than it was the original. Sure. But the other big news is we discussed Rogue in the last one and whether we thought that she would be, revised and stuff. It turns out she's not going to be in the movie at all. So the main scene.
She's not really Rogue, is she? She's Jubilee.
Nope.
Well, the main
scene. She really is Jubilee.
The main scene that she was in apparently was superfluous, so they cut it. Anna understands. She may be in some background of some scenes, but the character is essentially cut from the movie now.
Yeah.
Which, if there's too many characters, I understand. Would have been cool to see her back in it, just as kind of, almost a redemption for the character after X-Men 3. But,
I did hear some people were hoping that this film would basically make the Rogue we know and love from the comics, but I didn't know how they would do that, because you'd be a complete 180, because she's basically completely the opposite to what the Rogue in the comics and all.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be like 20 years in the future. A person could change, but I mean. Yeah, but obviously if they don't have time to go off on that tangent, save it for a future movie.
Yeah, and it also means that we won't be having the Iceman, Kitty, Rogue love triangle, which I am very happy not to see, because some people were...
Because the trailer implied that was going to be a thing.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I have no interest at all in that love story, at all. I think Iceman is the most boring character in the films. Not obviously in the comics, but in the film, he is really boring. And he's thinking, Rogue's love interest in the comics was Gambit, and Kitty's was
Gambit, Magneto, and then I think somebody else, but that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, like Gambit and Magneto, and now this Dawson's Creek dork. It's kind of a letdown.
Yeah, Iceman's never really been my go-to character to say. We need 4 love triangles all involving Iceman. If that doesn't happen, then this movie's done. I'm sorry. It's just going to be a complete clusterfuck.
Well, he's kind of the other guy of the original 5, even in the comics, isn't he? He's like, they had that whole storyline where Emma Frost was like, you could be a super mutant, you just don't bother.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah. I guess.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Emma Frost is not going to be in this. They're not even going to try and recast. Yeah, she was awful in First Class. And I think what has happened, because with the whole JFK, they've explained away that Azazel, uh, Angel, who calls herself Tempest now, were
Mhm.
killed off. I don't know if they've mentioned Ripton.
It seems like from a lot of the pictures we got that I posted up on the other roundtable, it seems like Magneto's in prison
Yeah.
for JFK's assassination, whether he did it or not, and he ends
I'm
up.
pretty sure he hasn't.
And the story in the movie seems to be that he's going to break out and then get his helmet back and stuff, and then go on a revenge tirade, and Xavier and Wolverine and that have to stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the main reason why she's not, I don't think Emma Frost is going to be mentioned at all, because they didn't want to, even though she was awful in the last movie, they didn't want to kill off such a big character from the comics off screen. So she's just not going to be mentioned. I mean, all they were saying, yeah, they're dead, they got killed off, but with her going, oh, we don't know. So
yeah, and it leaves the door open, especially with time travel, to bring that character back in the future. So
I'm not fond of Emma Frost anyway, so I was actually kind of happy she was bad in X-Men First Class, because I'm like, yay, she's not going to be in the rest. But
I like her with Cyclops. I like that whole thing. But anyway, we kind of covered this one a lot last time, so let's get on to the next movie.
I don't know if you guys are gonna love this next one, but it's Transformers 4. Do you just want to skip that one?
Michael Bay's doing. Yeah, we're gonna reboot it, or not reboot it, but we're gonna refresh.
It's not going to be a reboot. It's just that they're going to do exactly the same thing with a different cast.
Yeah, they're going to do a different cast. They're going to refresh it, make it a more adult, in quotation marks. Take away from the teenage version.
And now, when you say more adult, do you mean more professional or more adult?
Yeah,
it depends who's in it.
Yeah, considering we had like Megan Fox and a former Victoria's Secrets model.
Yeah.
The definition of adult from Michael Bay is very questionable.
What he means is more so the actors as opposed to a teenager. But I don't know if going in a new direction and redesigning them and doing all that thing is going to work if you're going to still use the same guy who was the core of the last ones. But if everybody tells me it's good, I'll go see it. I'm not paying for it in the cinema.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch this one at all. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I have no interest at all. I really don't.
Next one. Guardians of the Galaxy is the next one.
Now, this one's interesting for me in that this week, WWE announced that Batista is actually coming back to wrestling.
I heard about that.
He's in this movie as a character, so apparently he's going to go off in the summer and do the publicity for it. And he had dreadlocks and he was green and that for this movie. This one is... It's that one where it's like, okay, Marvel, I understand you're a bit more cartoonish than the others, and that's what we love you for, is because you embrace that your comics, and everybody has really got into that. I don't know whether this is a step too far for people.
I think it's just what they need.
Chipmunks and talking trees, I don't know if that's too far for some people. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because when I first thought this, I thought, well, it looks kind of ridiculous, and I'm sure if people will buy it, but I'm actually getting quite excited about it. I kind of like it now.
My thing is, like, if they're going to go this far with this, why can't we get Wasp in Avengers? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we had that whole rant last time. Yeah. I guess it's more of a, not editorial, but it's more of the guys in charge and what they want to do and what they're taking chances with. I think their feeling is we already have a couple great female characters in the Avengers. I don't know what their reasoning is for it. I just think that the direction for this one, with them, like you said, embracing more of a comic book side of things, like with taking a talking raccoon and tree, it's like if they can make comic book films with other human characters like this work, if they can put a god on screen and stuff like that, why can't they put like cosmic characters like this on screen? If people can believe Star Wars, why can't they believe this?
It looks like a very unapologetic space opera, and I like those movies. I mean, it's almost weirdly, it kind of reminds me of The Fifth Element in a weird way.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope it's successful. I mean, if it's not successful, then that means all those out there characters are not going to turn up at Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely something you really want to be successful.
This is the experiment. This is the experiment to see if that next step of believability or suspension of disbelief will work. Can something so cartoony work,
Mm.
we've got to see. That's
What do you think
I
of the
think
cast, by the way?
I
Just a
think it's the
question.
most interesting cast they've put in the Marvel films so far.
Yeah.
They've got like 4 actors or a couple of act. Well, the main guy is somebody that not many people have heard of, and if they have
Chris
heard of
Pratt.
him, then he hasn't been in a ton of stuff. But this is basically it's the same thing they did with Thor, where they took a no-name guy, put him in a film, and they see if they're gonna make him a star or not.
Mm.
I think he's gonna be a star after this film. That's just me
Yeah.
because it's the next Marvel film. I think everybody's already psyched enough for it. He's got Vin Diesel, who I think should do voice acting more often because everything he's done voice acting wise has been great.
what's
He
Yeah,
Vin
I
voiced
mean,
the
Diesel
Iron Giant.
playing? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He's Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's you got Rocket Raccoon, which is
Yeah.
voiced by Bradley Cooper, which is an interesting choice. I wouldn't choose him. I'd choose an Australian voice for him because it just seems like that's where I take that kind of character.
He wasn't he? He was originally Cockney with a Cockney accent at some point. I do know that.
Really?
Anyway,
But then you've got Benicio del Toro, who every other film that I've seen him in, other than The Usual Suspects, has been a usually pretty bad movie. And then I saw the after credits scene in Thor 2, and I fell in love because it was so like off the wall and crazy, and it's just
Yeah,
what
everybody's
it
going.
needed.
There's a lot of other podcasts I listen to that have gone like, "Wow, that post credit scene was so bad and so jarring." I was like, I didn't mind it.
I thought it was great
liked
because
it,
it's
yeah.
exactly what was needed. Because he seems like such an off the wall crazy guy. Just from his movements, he's like so into it. And I'm like, this is great. If this is what some of the casting is going to be like in the film,
yeah.
then it's perfect. The only bad thing I have to say about it is the Nova Corps look awful in the film. If you guys know what the Nova Corps is, it's like the Green Lanterns in the Marvel Universe, but somewhat different. And their costumes are really cool and out there in the comics, but in this film, it's just like a military uniform with the helmet and
Yeah.
something on the side, and it just doesn't look very inspired. It looks kind of lazily done. Not lazily done, but just doesn't look as good as the comic version.
Yeah, what you mentioned, the Green Card. That's one thing I think what makes me excited about this is kind of what the Green Lantern was promised to be. Because when they advertised the Green Lantern, it was going to be like they showed all of the aliens, all of this magical space opera world.
Yeah.
And then we rarely saw any of it, and we went straight back to Earth, and it really
Yeah.
ruins the film. So I think this may be what we were hoping the Green Lantern was going to be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I don't know what the plot at all is going to be for this film, which is why I'm so interested in it. Because it's supposed to be like, no one like respects the Guardians of the Galaxy at all. Everyone kind of looks down on them. And they're kind of like the, not like Han Solo group, but they're just like a bunch of these thieves and mercenaries and I don't know if they're mercenaries or not, but it's just a really weird gathering of people. And I think it's really great. I don't know. I have no idea what else is going to happen in this film. I just think it looks like a really fun
Isn't
movie.
it supposed to be this is kind of was teased at the end of Thor? Is it going to be the setup for Thanos? Because it seems like
Yeah, they're definitely.
he's collecting the affinity things, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think
so.
the villains are connected to Thanos. I know that. I think there are going to be connections to Thanos, which makes this very interesting. Because they say, oh yeah, that Captain America is going to be Avengers 1.5. Guardian of the Galaxy might also have something like that if it's going to have whatever its connection to Thanos is going to be. It's definitely going to be what's going to happen in Avengers 3, presumably.
I hope Thanos is the main villain in Avengers 3, because from the casting, I don't think Thanos is going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy. So if he's the big villain in Avengers 3...
I think it's going to be one of the things. You remember when Star Wars A New Hope first came out, they deleted the scene with Jabba the Hutt. So you only heard about Jabba the Hutt. But you never really saw him. And I think that this is what's going to happen, that we're just going to hear about Thanos. We're never going to see him. Which is
going to hype him up even more.
Yeah.
Which is going to make his reveal even better.
Yeah.
I think. Other than that, I'm just hoping for good things. Yeah. You guys want to go to the next one?
Yep.
TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Also I don't know if it's directed by Michael Bay or if it's being produced.
No, it's produced by him, but it's got Megan Fox as April O'Neil.
Have you seen the set photos?
I've seen some of them.
Yeah, where she's wearing just a yellow jacket.
Which is, I mean, I'll be interested to see what this is like. it's one of those ones that like, there's another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie coming out. I'm not hugely connected to the material. I mean, I watched it as a kid, and I've seen the original movies and stuff like that. But if it's good, fair enough. If it's Michael Bay taking out another '80s franchise, so be it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the guy who is directing it, he's also directed Wrath of the Titans, Battle Los Angeles, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. So that's not bringing my hopes up. If that's the director, the guy who also directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre prequel.
Yeah, it does not bode well.
Yeah, so the producer is Michael Bay, who is not someone you consider making good movies.
Trustworthy.
Made one. He's made The Rock. That is the only good movie he's ever made. It's starring Megan Fox, who doesn't really scream reporter to me.
Nope.
Like that really doesn't that does not look like April O'Neil at all. So I am very cautious. I won't say it's bad because it hasn't come out yet. It could be good. Yeah. But I am definitely very cautious about this one.
I have always been that person who was always interested in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but never saw much of any of it. Like the old cartoon show, 1 or 2 episodes, but I never watched it as a kid. I never watched the 2003 TV show. I didn't even watch the recent anime TV show. All I've really done is play the recent games, and I've heard about how cool they are. It's like cowabunga, dude, and pizza, and that's it. This new film is just all I hear is Michael Bay. And I'm not really gonna watch it if that's the case. But that's about it. Yeah, I don't know.
Does anyone know if there's still aliens? If there's anyone.
No, they are still going to be mutants again.
Hang on a second.
They went back on that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know how that was going to work because it was going to be is Splinter also an alien? I mean, how does?
No, I guess that was one of the things where they were like, we're going to try and make it make more sense, but it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You can't make it make sense. Just go with it.
Yeah, the whole point really is that it doesn't really make much sense. It's just kind of.
All right then. So yeah, seems like it's going to be an interesting year. We'll come back at a later date and do part 2, which will be for 2015 and our thing on sort of Batman, Superman, and all the stuff that's been going on with that.
Mad Max sequel, the Mad Max.
Yeah, all the stuff that's going down with all those ones for the next year and Jurassic World and things like that. So we'll be back for part 2 in a few days. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. Hannah, thank you for joining me as well.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.